Well, hello once again. This is me, Leonard, broadcasting as usual from Haslingden, 30 miles north of Manchester in the UK, or 50 kilometres if you're from outer Mongolia, on Tuesday the 13th of September 2011. Rather breezy and chilly here today. Now, the government says it's going to implement the provisions of the report on the banking industry. I'm very pleased by this, and I hope in heaven's name that they do, that they separate out the roulette players in the back room from the high street banks, so that we shouldn't have to pick up the tab. Now, one of the problems with capitalism is that the gap between the rich and the poor gets ever wider, and it never more so than in the case of bankers, thousands of whom, here in the UK, never mind any other parts of the world, here in the UK, thousands of these bankers get £1 million bonuses. For doing what? Well, I don't call these people bankers, I call them wankers. And I call somebody a wanker who really doesn't do a decent day's work that is of use to the rest of us. Now, these banks, let me give you an example of how they play silly beggars with our other people's money. They have computers set up which buy and sell shares in fractions of a second. Now, are you telling me that when we set out on the road of the Industrial Revolution, that this was what we had in mind when we allowed the people who invested in a company to be completely separate from the people who ran it? Now, you think about it, the computers are programmed to buy and sell every time there's a slight rise. How in the name of heaven could anybody run a company with this kind of automatic roulette going on in the background? I mean, you could almost picture these guys with eye shades on and cigars in a back room somewhere. And it's terrifying when you think that these people want to play with our money this way. And they even hint that if we dare to regulate them, they'll move somewhere else. Well, I'm quite happy to help them on their way. I mean, I'll send them a taxi if they like. But as you probably gathered, I'm not over keen on bankers. They're not to sit in a nice posh office somewhere doing bugger all, pretending that they're doing something useful for mankind. So, when you hear this good news that we're going to regulate the banks, and the banks start squealing, don't take any notice, because that means that they're going to have to be toe the line. And you can bet your bottom dollar it's these guys on £1 million bonus who don't like the 50% top tax rate for people who earn over 150,000 a year. Well, when you think that the average state pensioner is expected to live on about 6,000 a year, these guys getting £1 million bonus, and you don't pay 50% tax until you're earning over 150,000, it makes you wonder which planet they came from. Years and years and years ago, I worked for the Inland Revenue in the surtax office, as it was called then. The top rate of tax then, in the 1960s, was 19 and sixpence in the pound. 97.5% tax rate. 97.5. And these guys are grumbling at 50%. You can bet your bottom dollar that all these rich guys in the city are phoning all their mates in the Tory party and saying, please do something about this 50% tax rate. I mean, good Lord, we're not taking home half as much as we expect out of our £1 million bonuses. Hardly enough to pay for the sherry at Christmas and all that palaver. Well, I'm showing my working class roots at the moment, but if you compare communism and capitalism, and you think of how it was in Russia when the Tsar and all the rich noblemen were living like emperors, like Emperor Nero did centuries and centuries before, and the poor people at the bottom, the ordinary peasants and serfs, were starving. It isn't surprising that they had a revolution, and it may work out that we will move towards one ourselves if we're not careful. Because when I was a boy, when I left school, every boy could get a job, every boy or girl who wanted one. There were plenty of jobs. University education was free. Look at it now. You have to go into debt. So have we taken the right path? What does the Bible say about it? Love your neighbour as yourself. Well, it's not really loving your neighbour when some people are getting £1 million bonuses and thousands and thousands, perhaps millions, are only earning 6,000 a year. What do you think? Well, that's it for now. God bless, while it's still legal here in the UK to say God bless. Take care. Bye for now.